After the success that was the delidding of my wife's CPU, the i5-6600K, which netted me about 20 degrees temperature loss, I couldn't help but think about doing my own PC. Like the rest of you, unfortunately, the world is in a very strange place at the moment, and so I find myself in lockdown, stuck in my house with not a lot of opportunities to get out or do things. So I thought, why not take the time to have a look at my own PC, and that's what I've done. So I've got here my CPU. It's an i7-8700K. Now this is a slightly different ball game to my wife's CPU, because if I break this, it's going to cost me at the moment looking at about, well, just over £300 to replace it. So that's why I haven't done it so far, but I've noticed that my PC is starting to make a little bit more noise when I'm gaming. The fans are ramping up, and I ran some benchmarks last night to check, and it is hitting 86 or 87 degrees under load. So I figured, why not have a look and see if I can get similar savings on the temperatures. Having a look online, see people that are getting sort of between 15 and 20 degrees temperature drops on these chips. So I thought, let's give it a go. I may overclock it, I may not. I haven't actually had any need to overclock it yet, because everything I throw at it runs with ease, but if I can just drop the temperatures a bit, I might overclock it a little, but my aim is to try and keep the temperatures a bit lower, and let's see how I get on. So I've currently got a Corsair H100i dual radiator closed loop cooler cooling it. I've removed that from the chip now, taken the chip out of the motherboard, and it's here. It's an Asus board, which means that they give you these strange plastic CPU holders. I'm not really sure why they've gone for this style, but basically it clips onto the CPU and then means that when you insert it in the socket you can't get it wrong. So I need to take it out of that, but first of all I'm going to clean the CPU paste off. So I'll grab a dry tissue first. Well, that's all come off relatively easily. I don't think I put any thermal compound on this. I think that's the stuff that comes pre-applied on the H100, and I would say, judging by how much has come off there, that it's on a little bit thicker than I would normally apply it, but I don't think that's going to make a massive difference in temperatures. It's nice and clean now, so we'll pop it out of this contraption. It looks like it just holds it in place. It looks like it's held in place with clips either side of the chip anyway. So if I pop them just out slightly, so the chip lifts out, no problem. Just make sure there's nothing on any of those contacts, looks clean. So just give that another quick wipe round. The chip is very thin, but the heat spreader is quite chunky, so yeah, interesting. It's a shame they don't allow you to just remove the heat spreader and run it without it, but because of the way the CPU sockets are designed on the motherboard, the CPU cooler won't make contact with the die on the chip without the heat spreader in place. You could modify the CPU socket, but you're kind of on your own then, trying to get the height right to mount against the CPU without applying too much pressure or cracking the die. But anyway, I digress. So that's that. And now I need to crack out the delid die mate. There he is. So take that one up. It's a little shim. And there he is. So the box out of the way. And move the bracket. And that washes nicely compressed from the last chip because the heat spreader was on there tight. I wonder if this one's going to be the same. Oh, that'll be scary. Right. So we have a little corner here and a little corner on the chip, so we'll line them up. There we go, sits in there nicely, and we'll pop that one back on there, stick the screw in, do them up thumb tight. There he is. Actually, I might flip this washer around just because he's taking a bit of a pasting from that side. So I'll flip him around and see how he gets on. Right, in goes the right, so now it's tight, I can feel the pressure. Let's give it a couple of twists and see how easily this heat spreader pops off. Oh, I can hear movement. Oh, this is horrible. Yep, it's tight. There he goes. Right, well that wasn't as bad as the last one. Scary applying that much pressure to what is still a £300 plus chip. I think it was over 400 quid when I bought it new, but there we go. That's moved, so should be able to pop that out. Yep, he's come off quite cleanly there. So that paste in there is a right mess, isn't it? Oh. I'll pop that in there and start with the heat spreader, I guess. Okay, need something nice to prise off all of the nasty glue that they include. So remembering the key here is that you want the heat spreader to mount as tightly to the CPU as you can. So you need to really get away any material that's going to cause this to not sit completely flat. So in an ideal world you would put the heat spreader back on without any adhesive, but as with the last one I did, I'm going to put a tiny a tiny little layer of adhesive or gasket sealant on either side of the heat spreader just to make sure it stays in place. Right, well, I think that's looking pretty good, so we'll give it another once over with the alcohol. I'm happy with that. Now I think that bit looks good, so now we'll do the chip itself. Just a slightly more scary bit. Okay, that's the worst of the sealant off, so now we'll just clean up the CPU compound. Again, there's quite a lot of that on there. This is quite thickly applied, and most of it, as expected, is just squeezed out over the edges and down the side of the CPU. If you ever have been curious and wondered whether they print anything on the CPU die itself underneath this heat spreader, I can confirm that they don't. It's literally just a mirror finish. So there you go, that's an interesting fact for you. Right. Okay, so again we'll start with the liquid metal. As before, take a little brush. Check I haven't got any of this anywhere it shouldn't be. I've actually got a cotton bud for that, so that will be quite handy. Right. That looks pretty good. Right, and then we'll take the template, put that in place. And then just a couple of very small smears of gasket sealant. There you go, so I've literally smeared a couple of tiny drops of that on there, just the right way up, and we'll drop it in place. We'll take the clamp, and we'll clamp that nice and tight. Okay. And we'll leave that for an hour to set.